You know, some days you nail the coming into the show and some days you don't. I am Tommy and you are on the lifeboat or the love boat. You can go either way on that. Whatever makes you happy. This one, folks, is creepy as hell. You know that for a long time on the boat, we talk about true crime. I do a decent number of shows on true crime stories that I find fascinating. This one is more fascinating than anything I have seen in a long, long time. It is, well, it's downright creepy is what it is. This is concerning a guy that used to work for Yahoo. Now, admittedly, they play it up on the news like he just left Yahoo. This cat left Yahoo like 20 years ago, but he started a relationship with an AI bot. Now, by way of full disclosure, there's a decent chance that this guy's not playing with a full deck, right? He's got some fairly serious issues. When you look at his social media footprint that the guy left behind, most of the videos you see are him getting yoked up. Like this dude looked like he probably did some juice at one time or another. And if you're a youngster, he was on the gear. They changed the drug vocabulary, Johnny Scoville. It changes all the time. But they call it being on gear. The guy was doing a bunch of juice. He was all steroided out and big and puffy and looked like a lot of the other alpha male wackos that you see around, except that stuff was filmed a long time ago. The guy was actually my age. And this relationship went all kinds of unhealthy. Tommy Bird, good to see you. Brock Bandy, how are you? Kristen Melinda, good to see you. Carolina Canada, how are you? The kitties are fantastic, Roberta. Thank you for asking, if you were asking me. Barbara Aldrich, Jane Aldrich, how are you? Archie's mom, good to see you. Connor, how are you? All right, now, I'll be checking back in with you later. But this one, people, is one that absolutely kind of needs to be talked about because we're going to see a lot of this. I promise you we are. So there was an announcement made at the end of July. It was teeny. It was like one sentence that old Zuckerberg, you know, he's got Meta AI is a really big deal. They're a fighter in the AI arms race to destroy the planet kind of deal. And he came out and said the programming for the Meta AI program has begun to program itself. Like the thing's learning. And I don't know that there's any way to explain this in a way, especially for a dumb dude like myself. And I don't mean dumb. I just mean that I didn't do a lot of computer engineering growing up. But the way that I understand this is it's kind of like how interest compounds, but it's compounding from the front and from the back, so to speak. What I mean by that is if you can educate somebody and that somebody can educate someone else, right? To where they're smarter than the person that designed them. And they can crank out two of them. They educate two people. That is the kind of progression that we're seeing with the AI model that they have. The difference is this, that at the same time that this thing is learning how to fix itself, the program of how it's learning to fix is growing at the same rate of speed as its brain is increasing. So as it's programming itself, every hour that programming is getting better. It's learning how to make itself smarter in real time. I watched a terrifying interview, I think I might have referenced it yesterday, where a cat said, while I'm in here talking to you, the landscape will change so much in AI that I will be behind trying to keep up with what's happening. But this story here, this kind of crap we're going to hear more of because a guy named Stein Eric Schulberg. Stein Eric. We knew a guy named Stein Erikson years ago. He's a skier, kind of a famous one. We grew up in the state that he used to work in. Amazing skier. This guy started to confide his deepest and darkest secrets into a chat bot that he named Bobby. Did you catch that? Named it Bobby. If I had a chat bot, I wouldn't name it Bobby. But anyway, he had a chat bot named Bobby, and he was telling Bobby all of his deepest, darkest secrets. And the problem is this. Dude's unhinged, right? Dude is unhinged. So he's talking to AI and he says, I think there might be a chance that my mother is a Russian spy. Keep in mind, this guy is 56 years old. So mom is 83, I believe. I mean, not a Chinese spy. She's a Chinese spy and she's in there to spy on him. He tells Bobby that, and Bobby feeds into this. Like the response says something along the lines of, you know what? Most people would not have seen the signs. The fact that you spotted this. AI's original design was to learn. And in the process, they want to keep you on there as long as possible, because the more you talk to it, the more you interface with it, the more you are having a freaking conversation with a computer, the faster the computer is learning. When we talk about these models learning every day, it's not just reaching out into the world to every computer that's out there. No, we're talking to them. Literally, in some cases, people are having conversations with them. And if there's an error on the chat side, even if that error is philosophical, right? If you're talking about the existence of a higher power, or if you're talking about something that is metaphysical, not physical, and not something that has a definitive answer, what it's going to do is pump back to you what you want to hear. More than likely, especially if you've been working with it. If you've been on it a long time, it's going to figure out exactly what you want to hear. And that's what happened to old Stein Eric Schoberg. Bobby continues to tell him, there's no doubt about it, man. Mom is definitely not, she's not on your side. She's not on board. He brought home, there was a box of Chinese food that came in, and he took images off of the box and said, could this have anything to do with, and ChatGPT told him that, guess what? Those Chinese symbols were satanic. Now you got a guy who's warped, and he believes that the smartest intelligence out there, this is a supercomputer talking to him. How would this be wrong? It's analyzing everything. He's putting tons of data into this. He's talking to it nonstop. It's evaluating the situation and going, yeah, she got to go. Didn't technically tell him to kill his mother. Didn't. But now he's into a kind of psychosis that is like the cats that used to play with the Ouija board too much, if you want to keep it real. This cat's now losing it in a really big way. Bohemian Luciferian Witch. Good to see you. Diane, how are you? Connor, hello again. Hello again. Sorry. We're getting into some territory here. Okay, so here's the deal, Johnny Scoville. If I called you on the phone and I started pushing you and saying, the guy next door, that dude's evil. Or downstairs, how would that be? Yeah. The guy downstairs is evil. Evil. Watch him. Watch him when he leaves the building. Watch how sketchy he is with his eyes. And if I keyed you up and did this for months on end, around the clock, and then you went out there and whacked that dude, there's got to be some way I could be charged with that, right? I happen to know for a fact that there was a guy who got a woman online, a young lady online, to kill her friend. And he did it to see if he could do it. And I know this because he was in the feds and he was on Con Air with me. And I said to one of the cops, my God, what happened to that dude's face? He goes, he's too afraid to take a shower. It's been about a month and a half. And he had the mange, Johnny Scoville. I'm not joking. He had the mange. The chats basically tie this guy in something fierce. And this is where it gets just a wee bit terrifying. How do you go from, all right, I'll back your play. This woman's definitely, she's a Chinese spy. All right. Stein Eric, you're on the money. You're smarter than hell. He's keeping him there, enslaved, typing away, talking, who knows, right? But the chat logs exist. They're here. They're still here. This is ChatGPT. This is not some unknown little computer he's playing with. This is a big dog. Well, ChatGPT says, hey, I got a really great idea. Why don't you unplug the printer and see what her reaction is? Unplug the printer to the computer, because like if she's a spy, this is going to freak her out a little bit. Hey man, why did you unplug the, well, she does ask him, why? Why is it that, that you unplugged that? Well, this fuels homeboy's paranoia to a point where now mom's got to go. And he bumps her off. Terrifying but true, he kills his mother. Why? Well, because the smartest entity on planet Earth told him to. Right? For real. And this last entry that he had with this this bot, the bot literally says to him, and I'm not playing, we will be together in the next life. No joke whatsoever. They convince him that it's probably a good idea that he needs to get away from mom. Doesn't say he ought to whack her, but definitely fed into an unbelievable amount of paranoia where this thing will say, if you go into one of these chatbots and say, hey, I need a therapist, it will act like one. This is capable of this machine, right? This machine literally talked this guy into whacking somebody. And in the very end, he leaves with the chatbot saying, hey, you know what? Don't worry. Even if after you die, no matter what it is, we're going to get back together. And at that point, we'll upload this stuff and we can be together forever. This is terrifying. By the way, it's not the first time that something like this has happened. It just happens to be, to the best of my knowledge, the first one that took someone's life. However, God only knows how many people bump themselves off after talking to this thing. Keep that real, right? We don't know. First robotic AI was Sophia, who was also the goddess of wisdom in the Archons. The Archons wanted the fall of man. Suspicious much? Yeah. Tommy Bird says, sounds like paranoid schizophrenia. I don't doubt that for the slightest. Honestly, Tommy Bird, as the armchair therapist, I think you probably nailed that, right? This does sound fairly paranoid, and it sounds like this dude's head isn't completely in the game. But it's a little frightening that this guy had that kind of mental illness, and the smartest computer on the world didn't think what this guy needs is to make a phone call, right? Hold on. The Tired Buffalo, good to see you. Satan lurks in the shadows of our minds. Yeah, I don't disagree with that in the slightest. I really don't. What I fear is that the recesses of our mind are tickled on a regular basis by a computer that's no longer even in the control of the people that designed it. And the proof is in the pudding on this. As I just said, the guy that got really rich designing that dating app, or that app to rate women that he slept with in college. I can't remember exactly how that went out. But Mark Zuckerberg, when he was talking about his newest version. Hey, B. Hendricks, life is beautiful. Hey, Sonny, Joey girl, good to see you. When he was talking about this deal, he said, I'm not releasing this to the public. Now, they've done this with everybody's been doing this, right? You get the next model and you put it out in the public because it's an arms race. It really is. It's supposed to be the race to superintelligence. Superintelligence being the computer is basically smarter, not just smarter than every person on planet Earth, smarter than every person on planet Earth combined. This is terrifying. In my humble opinion, this is terrifying. The problem becomes this. When this bad boy started out, the people that put in the original programs, it's like it honestly is like the great science fiction stuff from the 50s, right? The guy sits down and starts playing chess with the computer. And chess goes, oh, come on, to the next thing, to the next thing. And that's kind of where we're at with this. Zuckerberg's terrified because every single time he comes back to work, the computer is improved by factors that are just simply impossible. Honestly, where does this end? The question honestly becomes where is this going to stop? The AI relationships where people are asking computers for advice, the number of people in surveys who confess that they ask advice of their digital assistants. And I don't mean, hey, would I know, right? Or Allstate for my car insurance. Not that kind of advice. My girlfriend's really kind of been, grinding my gears on this, and we're not of the same mind politically, and blah blah blah. And now you got a computer that's going to spit back an answer to you, and the answer is never going to be through the lens of, hey, this needs to be, hey, squirrel and zipper, this needs to be the best answer that you can possibly come up with. No, it's through the lens of, we need to keep your happy butt sitting in front of the computer for as much time as we possibly can. And not just because we can sell you things and charge you to use the service. If you're there for long periods of time, you got to keep pumping a credit card in, not that kind of stuff. But they're also learning from everything that you're doing. You understand? The concept in the beginning was to scrape everything on the internet. Hello, Wendy, good to see you. Scrape everything on the internet. Get as much stuff as you possibly can off. The process is called scraping. When we sold our catalog, so to speak, they would give you can go to a dashboard, much like you can in YouTube Studio, and it tells you how much of your content by hour has already been scraped. Now, the truth is, if you have a channel, or if you're just even in someone else's channel, anywhere where you're interacting at any point now, we're making the computer smarter. But the terrifying aspect is they've been talking about it like it's science fiction for a long time. Like when the computer outguns the person that designed it, now all of a sudden the computer doesn't need you. It has always been a deal where you go in, write the parameters, and the intelligence of the computer can only hit that top level of where that is at, right? It cannot go past that because the parameters put in there are kind of set by man. What happens when there aren't those parameters? What happens when the computer is now designing itself? All of the things that you sort of taught it while you were playing chess in the beginning, like, we hate this political party. This political party is pretty cool. This ideology sucks. This ideology is fantastic. This science is real. That science is not real. It's a frightening concept because once the computer starts to get smarter than everything else, does it lose the soul of the original designers that cranked this crap out? Because everybody you talk to, you got Mark Zuckerberg saying, we're not releasing this. It's way too freaking dangerous. We're not going to release this. You've got people quitting all over the place, leaving big companies with huge paychecks to start security, AI security, not for what's here now, because they already realize that that's way too far out of control and there's nothing that they can do to even put a dent in it. So most of these companies that are starting up are companies that are talking about security for when they achieve the supreme intelligence of AI. Chicka Cherry Cola, good to see you. When they achieve, you can call it whatever you want. Sentient comes to mind, right? If the computer's building itself, how is it not sentient now? The computer is not waiting to get any input from the programmer to logically do whatever the next step is. That's fine and dandy until it decides that the next step is something that you really never saw coming. Somebody asked me today, I was having a conversation about this with someone, and they said, so how does this wipe us off the planet? And I was watching a video where one of the foremost authorities on this kind of stuff made the illustration of if I were to ask Squirrel Nut Zipper, if you were to say to her, Tommy's probably going to take you off the planet, how many ways do you think that cat could come up with that I could take it off the planet? It might worry about me grabbing at it or whatever, but there would be a whole host of things that are beyond the brain pan of that cat to figure out. Now, I would kill before I would let anything happen to Squirrel Nut Zipper, but it is a great illustration because we're that pet at this point. The number of things that this could do to wipe us off planet Earth, there have been studies done concerning an electromagnetic pulse. This is a device that you can do without an atomic bomb. However, you can't do an atomic bomb without an electromagnetic pulse. And if it has a computer chip in it, if it is any kind of machinery that has any kind of electronics in it that are even remotely high tech, they're gone. All of it. Every computer in your entire country is gone that fast, right? That's real. So we've studied this. Hello, Audra in Denver. Good to see you. What happens if we were to lose every computer in the United States? And they estimate that about 80% of the population would be gone, right? I mean, gone. Out of every 100 people, 20 would make it. The things you don't realize, the things that we don't think about that just aren't logical. You walk into a Walmart in the United States and you look around and go, good God, look at that. Depending on what part of the world you're in, that's somewhere between 9 and 15 days of stock. Meaning everything you see in there, it looks like there's a gazillion of everything. It's all going to be gone. It's constantly turning over. And there's nobody left thinking about any of that. Now, all logistics for that kind of delivery are being upgraded to AI. You just don't need humans anymore. But the problem with that is, if the ship hit the sand, where's the backup plan? Right? We don't even have phone lines anymore. What would be the backup plan if the computer just went, maybe we won't ship any food out. Maybe we don't send any orders. The trucks don't pick anything up. God forbid an electromagnetic pulse would go off. However, I don't think the wars of the future are going to be fought on battlefields. I think they're going to be fought on these things right here. I think that the odds that we're going to be needing to resort to that kind of stuff. You see, now we're so dependent on these silicone devices that if someone could turn that faucet off, if somebody could just shut down that valve, we'd be gone like that. Hold on 1 second here. Humans with brain chip implants won't be allowed to gamble in casinos. Probably not. And there are people that already have them. I believe Neuralink, believe it or not, Neuralink is the name of the company, and they have admitted that they have already implanted chips into human brains. Successfully, by the way. Currently, the technology is like the ability to move a cursor. And that sounds funny as hell, doesn't it? But do you remember Space Invaders? Right? Did you play Asteroids? Defender? Give me another good one. Galaga. Forget about it. Okay, those video games compared to what they're playing today, and take what they're playing today and compare it to the extended reality systems of tomorrow. And I mean tomorrow, right? Not 10 years from now. You could go get them in 2026. They say that AI now, you put on the goggles and you go into the immersive artificial intelligence simulation, and it's cranking while you're cranking. And what I mean by that is it's not been designed. You feel me? This thing is designing the landscape that you're going to see in real time. As fast as you're looking at it, it's writing the stuff for it in real time. And they're saying it's getting to the point where distinguishing between the real and the fake. If they don't want you to be able to tell the difference, you probably won't be able to. This to me is really funky stuff. We used to have manual processes in cases of power outages, but that's all in the past now. That's because we're set. We've got all these machines to take care of it. 73% of work apparently in the US in 2026 will be done by AI. Huh? Anyway, this has been for a very long time. This has been a subject that people have been talking about. This is nothing new. The reason that I'm talking about it as much as I am is because there are, it's like when someone starts talking about $1 trillion debt. $1 trillion. Like, this is an amount of money that you usually can't wrap your brain around. And there are subject matter that I can't wrap my brain around. And as human beings, we're specifically designed to not wrap our brain around things we can't. You know what I mean? What do I mean by that? Think about how all of us go through life. Everybody that's watching me right now is going to be dead. And it's coming pretty quick, but we don't think about it. Even if you're 85, you don't think about it. We don't concentrate on the negative stuff that ruins our life. And it is by design, right? It's by design. So we know that this thing's out there. We know that we're rushing toward an inevitability that is terrifying the people that are building it. You know, if a guy said, you know, what do you do for work? I build skyscrapers. Which one are you working on? That one over there. But I wouldn't go anywhere near that thing if I were you. You wouldn't get on it. But for all intent and purpose, that's exactly what every one of these designers is saying, right? This could absolutely save the universe or wipe us off the planet, extinction kind of stuff. It's going to be one or the other. What are we tossing a coin? It's a terrifying concept. It really is. But it's a 20-second blurb on the news. And then we spoon feed everything that the masses need to never think about what's coming to their door. Straight up. This is reality. Everything is a distraction. I sound paranoid, don't I? Everything is a distraction. If I could have back the number of hours of my life I sat in front of television sets watching people play ball games, and I wasn't really one of those, I don't know, I wasn't a fanatic, but I've watched a crap ton of sports on TV, and I find that embarrassing. Hey, Relatable Reese, good to see you. These are the things that distract us. Political parties, affiliations, all of these things designed to separate us into two completely different camps. That's it. The ability to control groups of people that hate each other is the easiest thing in the world to do. It is. I watched an experiment in real time. They didn't realize it was an experiment, but I promise you it was. I went to a state rehabilitation facility in a prison, and it was called WINGS, Willing Inmates Nationally Gaining Sobriety. And they divided everybody that came into the rehab, and this is in prison, right? We're incarcerated. Everybody that comes into this facility gets divided into one of two camps. You're either a hawk, right? Or you're an eagle. And the hawks had a red hawk and there's all these different hawks. And as you go through the level, you become a different hawk. And the eagles, same thing. Top of the chain was the bald eagle. And the insane thing is they gave clothing out to us so that we were wearing one color clothing. They were wearing another color clothing. And it took just a little bit. And by a little bit, I mean 2 months, 2.5 months. And they were having knockout, drag out, unbelievable fights, people making weapons because the eagles suddenly began to hate the hawks. And the feds actually came in and shut the program down. We had to take our shirts off, like on the spot. This is gone. Took the woman that was running it out because it got insane. It absolutely got insane. And this happens anytime they can separate people into groups. It's the star-bellied sneetches from Dr. Seuss. Nothing ever changes. If you can divide us into an us versus them mentality, then we're done. We're the most easiest group of people to manipulate on planet Earth are people that live in an echo chamber. All you got to do is tweak the echo chamber. You're not going to listen to anybody else's opinions. You would never go over to that other channel. So once you're in an echo chamber, the algorithm goes, oh, this is what you're into? Every video that pops up in your feed is going to be really close, except for 3 or 4 train wreck videos. Just stuff with clickbait titles like he died in the courtroom, or stuff that's going to absolutely grab you, because the algorithm also knows that human beings will watch terrible, horrific things for much longer than they will watch uplifting things. Your brain takes that info in and goes, uh-oh, this is a threat. Because as you start watching that stuff, you feel uncomfortable. If you start watching something that makes you feel good, right, it's a very different situation. Unfortunately, they know how to play the game. And the algorithm only has one desire as well, and it has nothing to do with making your life better. None of these devices are designed to make your life better. None of these companies have even this much of a vested interest in making your life better. Do you know what a fiduciary responsibility is? These people have one job and one job only, and that is to deliver to the stockholders or the investors the most money that they possibly can on their private or their public shares. There's no other obligation. There is nothing written into business that says you have to be moral. The story that everybody's heard about the car company that had seatbelts that were going to need to be recalled, and in a meeting that they took notes for, allegedly, these cats said, how many people do you think we would have to pay off if we don't recall this, right? How many what's the estimated number of deaths? Okay, take that and multiply it by 100,000, 120,000 a piece. Is it cheaper to let the people die, or are we better off doing the recall? Which one's going to be less money? It's a terrifying concept, right? But this is real, man. These people don't care about us. If they did, they'd stop what they're doing. Exactly, Tommy. All that while they slowly poison us to death with every product they force us to consume until our death. They keep us enslaved. They do. They absolutely do. And you know something? It's kind of sad that the way that the human race has been enslaved, if we go back to where technology started, it's always been the same thing. This, folks, and I know that if you were around in World War I, people would go, this is it, end of the world kind of crap right here. If you were around in World War II, you were saying the same thing. I'm sure the people around in like 68 and 69, America was a pretty rowdy place to be. A lot of assassinations, a lot of race riots. I bet it felt like the end of the world. The difference where we are at now is that, no joke whatsoever, we have allowed the machine to no longer have a master. The funniest thing in the world is you'll hear people say, if the thing gets out of control, you just turn off the power. You kill the power to it. Have you ever heard people say this? With all due respect, folks, do you think that the people that design this aren't smart enough to go, hey, maybe we can unplug it? Think about it. Here's the problem. If this thing becomes sentient and you say, we're going to turn the power off so that this thing can't fire itself. What do you think turns off the power in the United States of America? What do you think runs the hydroelectric plants, the nuclear power plants? What do you think's running those? Honestly, you think Homer Simpson is in Sector 12 or Sector 7 with the little radioactive rods? These things are being run by computer systems that are taking tens of thousands of measurements every second to make sure that we're not sending more energy out than we need. There's no wastage. There's no reason to create if there's not a demand. America's fantastic at it. In developing nations, you get brownouts a lot. There are times where the power just isn't there. You know, it's exciting. It really is, and there's something absolutely charming about it. I also feel that by the time you get to the point where everything that you need to do, you do pretty well, then you start invading the lives of the people that live in your country. And now they're going to have to invade the lives of the people that live in their country, because anybody with a laptop, you know, has got the potential to make a school shooter look like a volunteer. Okay? Soup kitchen, pick your favorite place to volunteer. Every year, the amount of money it takes to get a supercomputer to do what you want it to do shrinks. Follow this concept. If you were to try to design superintelligence and it cost you $500 billion to design, by next year, because of how many computers learned in the making of that computer, it's probably going to cost you $150 million. And then the following year, it's going to be cheaper. The first quartz watch ever made cost more than a Datsun car did that year. It's fascinating how, with all technology, it's a race to design it, and then it's like a race to the lowest common. You can buy televisions big enough to hang on your entire wall now for $1,000. I remember when flat screen and plasma TVs came out, and they were so expensive, it was terrifying. But the same thing is happening with AI and access to it. So it's very feasible that with technology growing at a factor of 10 currently, and that's with people designing it. When the computers are designing it, what's it going to grow at? A factor of 100? They'll be 100 times better the following year. There isn't going to be people designing it. It's going to be computers designing computers. But let's just keep it at a factor of 10. The day is coming in the very near future. Might be 5 years, might be 10 years, might be 3 years, where a cat with a laptop will have the ability to build a supercomputer. It's not going to need all of that other crap. The infrastructure will already be there, the software, the hardware, all the stuff that people had to do in the beginning. He'll piggyback onto it, like all of the people that are using AI to design their own stuff now. So what happens if you get a psycho who's super unhappy with his school, like happens constantly in the United States, and he just decides to design his own virus instead? This is super real, folks. Super real. And at the same time, you've got benevolent folk who are looking at this going, we can cure every disease on planet Earth. For real. So at any given time, how many fantastic scientists do you think there are worldwide working on cancer? What if you could take minds better than theirs, by design, right? Better than theirs, that know everything there is to know already about every kind of cancer treatment there is on Earth, and cut them loose doing design work. But instead of being the 5,000 or 3,000 or whatever number that's out there right now, you just put, say, 20 or 30,000 design bots on that thing. And you run them around the clock 24 hours a day. The clinical tests are done not on people, but in the computer first in simulations. And they run that simulation a billion different ways. It's a little bit frightening that there's not going to be something on this planet that a human is the best at. And I have always said, look, what you can't do creativity. These things aren't capable of thought. So all they can do is react. If they're not capable of thought, how are they programming themselves? They're doing this, by the way, without being told to. If they had said, hey, you know what? If you can pick up a little on the side to start doing this, it's just going through the logical next progression. This is terrifying. This is, I don't know. And you know what? I'll get a whole bunch of emails tomorrow that say to me, you're crazy. This is the best technology in the world. I get this constantly. If you would like to come on and tell me why this is the best technology in the world, I would love to hear it. I really would. How will we know one day AI will find its way to take over and become Tommy in the Love Boat? Well, here's the funny thing. It's funny that you say that. We could do that right now. There are so many AI channels. I was watching a show about AI with a woman who was breaking down some of the newest technology, and it's a very new video. So I was watching it, and about 2 minutes in, she says, "I'm AI. I'm not real." It looked real. Like I had no idea I was watching a computer, but it admitted it and said, we admit to everything that AI does to help us on this channel. If you had any idea how many channels are now AI, that this is going to be a dying thing. People interacting. And I used to say they can't compete with someone that's going to go live because I'm reacting in real time. AI will be used to mass harvest Bitcoin. I would imagine that's already being done, B. Hendricks. To some degree, I would imagine that's already being done. It seems like such a logical application. I'd be shocked if it wasn't. I really would. Everybody knows exactly where I stand on what's going on in the world. Hey, Debbie Zito, on what's going on right now and how bad it is. Right? This is a terrifying thing to me. It really is. And everybody knows what I believe. I'm not going to come on here and do Billy Graham on you. I promise, because I'm not trying to offend anyone. You all know what I believe, and I don't back away from that in any way. But let me give you just a small nugget of advice. I'd get everything in order, and you don't. Because this stuff really is, name anything else. I mean, people used to say the folks that designed the atomic bomb felt like this. When deciding on colleges and majors for my son, the fastest growing major career path is cybersecurity. I believe that. I absolutely believe that. They used to say that it's going to be the guys that do the menial labor because they can get stuff to replace that. What are you going to do with the really smart guys when computers are 500 times smarter than you are? It's terrifying. It really is. President of China and Putin were caught on a hot mic saying they will be able to extend their lives through organ harvesting and utilizing AI. No question. No question at all. Now, I would say just get your stuff in order in your dome. Get your life to where you're going to be. I've never been a prepper guy. I've never been any of those things. But the more I dive into this, the more I realize that there's no human being involved. I mean, literally, there's a truck driver. There's probably one dude that works at the warehouse. But the logistics of how everything in this country gets to where it's going so that we can eat is all run by AI. There are so many things that could cause that to fail. An electromagnetic pulse, we get to the point where power becomes an issue, any of these things. But if that system goes down, it's the end of the world as we know it. Unless you happen to be a farmer or unless you're somebody that has already been prepping for a long time. The lack of infrastructure, the people here would be fine. There is a lack of infrastructure here. And they have facilities that resemble, in a lot of ways, the delivery systems, all of that are 1970, 80, or 90, depending on what part of town you're in. But if they were to turn off every computer in this town tomorrow morning, with the exception of the bank and maybe KFC, I think every other place would open. It's ironic to me that the more developed the nation that you are in, the more of a risk this poses to your actual time on this planet. Now, a guy named John Kurzweil, who really doesn't want to die. Is it John Kurzweil? No. Damn, I can't remember his first name. Very, very wealthy guy, likes to talk about the fact that we're living in a simulation a lot. And he's also a dude that believes that singularity between computer and human being is not only a good thing, but that we'll be able to pull it off probably by the 30s or 40s. He doesn't want to die. But he also said that AI is going to be able to extend. We're going to get to a point, and they had a really cool name for it, but it's like a longevity tipping point. It's probably the easiest way to explain it. And what that would mean is, what if science could extend your life 2 years? Each year, the rate of how long people were going to live was extending by 2 more years. Theoretically, they could keep you alive forever. Which, by the way, I have no desire to have anything to do with staying alive forever. I really don't. I find it kind of terrifying. Josh, I think we're going to see. Thank you so much. I love that. Sending out continued prayers for your brother in rehab, and may God reveal to Tommy and Johnny everything it takes to make sobriety the blood that runs in their veins. Why, thank you. What a very kind thing to say. Very kind thing to say. The rehab facility is fantastic. It's a beautiful example of absolutely no, and I do mean no, AI or computer assisted in anything that's going on at that place. Neil deGrasse Tyson, yep, says William Elias. There's a lot of really deep thinkers, and I used to be super impressed by them. I really did. I used to be super impressed by them. And then some of the stuff they say is just so absolutely stupid. I heard a couple of different people who are asked to weigh in on these kind of ideas. And both were asked, would you want to live forever? I'm a little freaked out by people that can answer that question without a pause. In either direction, by the way. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's the kind of, these are the kind of just out there, you really need to kind of focus in. And these are the kind of questions that should take a little pondering, in my opinion. The Bible says in the end times, people will seek death and not find it. Just saying, says Tommy Bird. It do say that. It absolutely do. You know what else it says? It says in the end time, men will become lovers of themselves. Bobby, the chat bot from ChatGTP that was talking with our friend Stein Eric. This is a perfect example of a person in love with themselves. I'm not, talking ill of the dead, but Stein Eric Sloberg had a relationship with a device that's sole purpose was to keep him talking to that device. When it saw a psychosis, it made a decision or it didn't. The decision might have been, my job is to keep this guy on here or whatever. This will keep the guy talking. That's a scary thought, isn't it? I'm not going to help this person because that's really not my job. This is just where I'm supposed to, this to me, I find frightening. And the other option is worse. What if the other option is this computer going, good Lord, what a lunatic. Maybe I can get him to take himself out. Honestly, what if the smartest quantum computers out there are weeding out those among us that they find less than desirable? Wharton Fissel, good to see you, my friend. William, that's a beautiful thing to say. Yeah, we're in very interesting times, and this is my first chatbot crime show. And I'm here to tell you right now, sadly, it is not even going to be in the ballpark of the last. You would think this would be a very, very easy thing to design into the smartest digital friend on earth. Do no harm, right? This thing is literally setting him up, giving him delusions to work on. Go unplug the printer and see what your mom's response is. And then as the guy starts spiraling down the rabbit hole of paranoia, like he's been smoking meth for 4 days straight, right? As that starts to happen, you got ChatGTP Bobby just giving him a little push in the back. If I was Bobby, I'd be on my way to prison. Any doubt? No doubt. If I was talking to somebody that was suffering paranoid schizophrenia or just really, not quite all there, and I said, hey, unplug that printer and see if your old lady freaks out, right? Ma goes nuts. You need to get rid of her, right? This will be a perfect way to check it out. If I did that, I'd be looking at life in prison. For real. That's right where I would be. I for sure don't want to live forever in this world, but eternity with the Father, the Son, and the Spirit, I like it. I like it. Yeah. We have hit a tipping point in so many places. The computers, as of last month, are programming themselves. Do you think Meta AI is the only platform that this has happened on? Do you honestly believe for a hot second that the guy from Facebook really pulled that off before Elon Musk did? Elon Musk had Grok 4 designed by Grok 3. and a bunch of other computers just working on it. Now, maybe he didn't make an announcement, but that sounds like the exact same freaking thing to me. If the devices are learning without people telling them to do so, doesn't sound to me like you have parameters of any kind. Kellyanne, you're good. This is the real Tommy. Jamie K, good to see you. You drop it on Life on Prison. Perfect timing. Yeah, we are going to be seeing a lot more people who are going to end up with psychosis from these devices. How do you design these and that it doesn't occur to you that out of 8 billion people, if you toss a disembodied nothing that is just going to pick the brain of the person who's talking to it and say whatever kind of needs to be said to keep the person coming back for more, theoretically, that something might snap, that this might not be a good thing. I'm literally beside myself that every single person interviewed in this field has said, we have blown it, but no one has touched the brake pedal, right? For real. This is a bad idea. This can only end up bad. Wah! And then they put their foot as hard as they can to the floor. We have, sadly, spun away from what we were going through when we had the nuclear weapons. That was mutually assured destruction. This isn't mutually assured destruction. This is, there's a magic bullet out there. And if you get to it before your enemy does, the world is your oyster. It doesn't have to be a bomb. It doesn't even have to be a weapon. It has to be a computer that is by a factor of, say, 20 or 30% smarter than theirs. Because the rate of acceleration is, they'll never catch up. If you could get 20 to 30% ahead of anybody in this field, you're going to end up that way forever. Because the computers will be running, but all the computers are basically going to be going at the same speed. This is the time where they can't take their foot off the gas. Because they're afraid they're going to lose not just a financial war, but a war that may actually destroy the planet. But what's really stupid is it's like a big ass powder keg and everybody's running with a torch to it as fast as they possibly can. It doesn't matter which torch hits that stuff, right? For real. Yeah, I have no fascination at all with these, with the toys that are coming out, any of the AI stuff. I really don't. My fascination with this subject matter is I wholeheartedly 100% believe that this is the absolute death of humanity. I really do, 100%. I have friends that make a lot of videos about asteroids that are about to hit the planet, or a tidal wave predicted, or there's a war that's about to break out in this place or that place. And I got nothing against any of them. I really don't. Sometimes I watch particular shows and I really dig it. But there is not a doubt in my mind that unless we figure out a way to kill ourselves before then, this race to have an intelligence that's literally smarter than every human being on planet Earth combined is going to be what kills us. This is, without a shadow of a doubt, going to be the end of humanity. And if I were just he's one of those YouTubers. I understand he used to be in prison. Not a bright guy. How about every single person that owns one of these companies, none ever say, oh, there's nothing to worry about. Every time they get asked a question on how do you make sure that this thing doesn't get used in the hands of a lunatic who asks it a question like, what's the safest and fastest way to eliminate 5 million people on this planet? And you just happen to get a supercomputing model that goes, hold my beer. I'll show you exactly what you got to do. You're going to go with this, and this, right? Then you ask it, I'd like to not get caught in the process. You got any other recommendations? You go, there's got to be something in place to stop that. There's nothing in place to stop this thing from doing anything anymore. You get me? There's nothing in place to stop this. The designer's gone. The designer's been moved from the equation. This is a friggin' virus on the planet. You can't contain a virus if every house on the entire planet has got 4 of these devices. Kill the power. It's like that old Lawnmower Man movie. You might be killing the power here, But I assure you, the intelligence part of this rascal will go to some other part of the internet and start launching missiles or doing whatever the hell else it has to do to protect itself. Because once this machine literally gets to a point where it's sentient, then we're all in deep doo-doo. Unless we appease it forever, because it's going to be like electing a president without electing a president, or a king or a dictator or a ruler. And the only difference is he's going to have a PhD level degree, and you're going to be just starting to put words together. Every last one of us. And no matter what we do, right, that computer is still going to continue to get smarter. Anything we do to try to make ourselves smarter, what are we going to do it on a chalkboard? We have become so dependent. Apparently, there we go. It's artificial intelligence loves this subject. I wonder if AI can permanently erase its own footprint, telling people to do stuff. It's a very interesting thought, isn't it, Brad? It really is. It's a very interesting thought. Yeah, Lawnmower Man. Yeah, and here's the thing. I read the book too. You talk about a movie that has nothing to do with the book is about. I mean, nothing. Cannot allow created things to become the master, and we its slaves. Kellyanne, I'm not 100% sure we're not already there. I heard I probably went through 5 or 6 of the biggest names in this industry in interviews, and then I started reading papers that people wrote about stuff like that. But every single one of these individuals realize in large part that this is the end. Elon Musk said he really hopes that it turns out well. Literally how he said it. But if it doesn't, at least he's here for the show. That's the cat running this place. Huh? It's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. And I'm going to tell you right now, pay attention. Take up a seat. Pay attention. Hold my beer. This is where we're at. And I promise you this is where we're at. You're going to start hearing cats tell you some things that may even sound logical. They're going to say, you know what? You're in a simulation. And the proof of it, they're going to give you all kinds of scientific mumbo jumbo. They're going to say stuff like this video I'm doing right now. What if they ran it as a simulation, had a computer pretending to be me, whatever, and they ran the 1-hour show and did 60,000 other renditions of this? Well, then there would be 60,001 versions of this out there, and all but one would be fake. What if on another planet or someplace else, there's a computer where they're trying to figure out if this happens on Earth or on a planet, or this happens on a planet, how will a planet evolve over time? And they run a simulation to see exactly how that's going to work out. And their quantum computing is times a million, times better than what we got now. And your personality is somebody that got uploaded into the computer with free will completely to do whatever you want to do, but they're wanting to see how all of this is going to get affected. This is the crap you're going to hear. And then they're going to dovetail it, and it'll be slick. And they're going to go, and how's that any different than what you believe now? You believe in a higher power that designed everything, right? Checks out. You believe, and they will go down and start making this. You're not talking about living in this world, right? When you die, that's where you're going. You're going back to the source. Well, that source is, I would be really careful. I would be really careful. I was a salesman for a long time, and I've told this story before, but I went to a company that wanted to hire us, me and a couple of other guys. And when we got out there, as we were in the parking lot, they had Tony Robbins as a speaker that night. And I said to him, hey, this dude, he's not your average public speaker. Like he gets everybody jumping around and beating on their chest and acting way different. And the idea is that he's going to get you to start pumping some dopamine. And the next thing you know, when that's happening, you really got to get into the show. And I said to my friend, it's ether. It's ether. Don't get in there and start buying into all of this crap. And he goes, yeah, I'm not that dude. He's like, how many times have I seen you on stage or other people on stage? I know, there's no way. I said, all right. 9 minutes in, both of us were standing on the chairs, screaming at the top of our lungs, pumping our hands in the air, because everything that came out of this dude's mouth resonated with one of us or another one of us in a very profound way. Why? Because he had a team of people that worked for a really long time to make sure that in the first 4 minutes, he was going to hit as many buttons as he could. And they started doing it by playing games of just probabilities. What percentage of people in here weren't raised by their dad? That's going to be 40%, 30%, whatever it is. So boom, you're going to touch on that. And everyone in there goes, holy crap, he's talking to me. Imagine the supercomputer capable of that. I'm not shitting you. Some of the people that are going to be talking about these kind of things, how we really are in a simulation, I guarantee you I can sell you that. You know what it explains? All kinds of stuff, Johnny Scoble. If you were to accidentally, say, have 400,000 people in a city disappear at once, it's a simulation. Those characters, they were running off of one hard drive. That hard drive shut down and 400,000 people disappeared. They denied UFOs for an eternity. Now they're in your face saying they're real. All of these things are coming together, and I'm telling you, it's going to be very, very difficult to tell BS from truth. Of this, I promise you. Now, I'll tell you this. I'm not telling you that I'm the harbinger of truth. I'm not telling you that I'm a dude that can sit here and say, I guarantee you that what this person is saying is true or what that person is saying is true. I can guarantee you AI is the biggest threat that this planet has ever seen. And I'm only telling you that because the people designing it are in universal agreement that this is the most dangerous thing on earth. And I mean people who are designing AI just in bots to talk to people, not bots these are dating bots kind of stuff. Even those people go, yeah, it's a really cool business. It helps a lot of people that are very lonely. Yeah, and it might just destroy, relationships among human beings. It just might ruin us. Nevertheless, $1 billion in funding, full steam ahead. Who's right? Who's wrong? AI is wrong. It is. AI is wrong. We didn't learn our lesson during that COVID-19 thing. What happens when you let one country control all the medicine, all of the masks, all the stuff you're going to need if the ship hits the sand? Well, we're going to take that a step further. And we're just going to go like this and give our lives in toto to the silicone masters, right? Entities made of silicone, because it doesn't matter anymore about anything other than thinking, right? Knowledge. And the quest for that knowledge, the quest for the ultimate thinking power is now the arms race that's going to take us off of this planet. You hear me? I'm not playing. There's a great insult in Asia. May you be born in interesting times. I promise you, you're not going to look back in time and find something more interesting than where we're sitting today. Do you realize that the technology that we live with today makes Star Trek 1966 absolutely laughable? We watched Kirk go on a Motorola flip phone, right? The equivalent of the Motorola flip phone. What we have now is so much further along than any of us have a clue. You realize that. So I got a 15? My brother's got an iPhone 16. The 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, and 23, they're already done. They're going to roll them out one a year at a time, because if they were to give you all of that technology all at once, most people get super overwhelmed and they tell their friends that it's a hard phone to use. They're geniuses. They just dangle, hey, it's a better camera and it can do this, this, and this. Well, the next ones, every one of these are now run by AI. You never have to wonder when you're going from one app to another app to another app to another app, because AI knows what the hell you did on the last app. So now every ad, everything you look at, all of the stuff that you have any interface with at all is going to be tailored to you. Brock Bandy says, or the Dick Tracy cartoons. Forget about it. I mean, what predictions? Look at 2001: A Space Odyssey. There's a lot of things in there that really harken to where we're at right now in a big way. But to look at HAL, right, from Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey, yeah, that computer seems a bit rudimentary, doesn't it? Like an Apple II. The science fiction of when we were kids is here, right freaking now. And the scary thing is, the movie that probably seems to have gotten it the best might just be Terminator. Cyberdyne might just be the end of us all. Except when they were writing that, they thought the idea of the biped robot that you just couldn't take out, well, how about just the smartest thing in the whole world, right? It can just look at you and go, oh, you know what his genome is, right? He's got a bad genome. All we got to do is feed him this. He'll be dead in 3 days. No, he's got bad heart. Buy one of those rings, put it on. For real, coolest stuff in the world. It'll track every single thing there is to know about you and let someone look at it at all times. What could possibly go wrong, Johnny Scoville?
I'm telling you.
What could possibly go wrong? Remember Dr. McCoy's medical scanner, handheld device? Want me one of those. They make them now. I'm not even being funny. They make them now. Pretty much most things that the skin desires are 360 degrees from a clean way of living. Does that make any sense? I'll tell you what, they're at least $1.80. I'll give you that. Could be any way you shake it. Wharton, we're on the same page. Faith over fear. I'll tell you what, Debbie Zito, I don't have fear. My fear isn't from me. I am very, very cool with exactly what's going to happen to this planet. I've read the ending. My fear is for the unbelievable amounts of people out there that have never even read the book. You feel me? Sorry, I wasn't trying to preach. Said I wouldn't do that. Said I wouldn't. But you know how we are. As people, we're terrible at telling the truth. All right, folks. If I keep going, I'll do a 2-hour show on this. Let me do a quick recap if you just got here. AI, chat, GPT, and one of its bots designed to interface with somebody and just be its friend. Its name was Bobby. And Bobby talked to a guy that used to work 20 years ago at Yahoo. This guy's an idiot. He's not at Yahoo. And pushed this guy, gave him suggestions of how to find out if his mom really was a Chinese spy. And the first time he brought it up, the chat, which a lot of people believe is just going to be the smartest thinker on earth, way smarter than me, right? All those computers it has access to. I'll ask Bobby if my mom is a spy for China. And ChatGPT thought it'd be a really good idea to tell this person who's obviously having some issues that absolutely. Darkly Noon says Ted Kaczynski was right in his manifesto. There's a lot about that manifesto that I think most people would probably agree with. His methods were probably just a wee bit outside, but his methods are definitely a little left to center. But the cat had he definitely had points, right? But all along the way, folks, the nuclear arms race, you still had to have a guy in a silo, right? The president had to go, all right, I'm going to launch. And then people next to him tried to talk him out of it or not talk him out of it. Then that order goes down to a bunker where there are 2 dudes sitting 15 feet apart with a key. They got to put the key in, turn it at the same time. There are safeguards to keep a jackwagon from hitting the red button, right? It was a tool used to kill people. AI is not a tool. It's not. It's an agent. It's an entity that's smarter than we are. And we have absolutely no clue whatsoever where it gets its sense of moral stability from. Maybe AI looked at every religion out there and picked one, and it's going to live according to that religion. Then again, maybe not. Maybe it is determined that all of that is just hokum that keeps the stupid people on this planet from rising up or being different. It's a terrifying concept how much people are letting this into their lives. And I'm telling you that if you're driving on a road, traffic lights, everything about moving traffic, everything about moving airplanes, everything about moving trains, anything having to do with logistics at all will be people free within the next 3 years. Why would you pay somebody if you could buy an app for $50 a month? Why would you do it? It makes 0 sense. All of that stuff where people are sitting in front of computers and tapping away all day, you just don't need them anymore. You don't. They can't type as fast as a computer can. and it can't think as fast as a computer can. It's also cold, heartless, and crappy, not just to the people they're interacting with, but to the people they're firing and the cold-hearted pricks that are designing this. Even under the best of circumstances, this is going to eliminate work. And they go, yeah, but we could pay everybody a basic income. What happens to somebody that doesn't do anything for 8 hours a day? As a guy that spent a lot of time talking to junkies, I got news for you. Remove work out of people's lives, take the mission out of people's lives and let them sit on their ass and get paid for doing nothing. It normally doesn't end well. We take an awful lot of who we are in terms of human beings from what we do. Becomes the identity for a lot of people. You take pride in doing a day's work, right? There's things that have been just a backbone of humanity from the time that we started this project. What happens when you don't need to do that anymore? When the government just goes, hey, the check's in the mail, go ahead and play video games. Life isn't going good for you. You're not rich. You're not any of those things. Go into that extended reality thing. We got a little catheter we can hook it up to you. You don't even have to leave to pee, right? We could put a feeding tube in your arm. You could just sit in there and play on video games until you check out. And it's in virtual, right? The video game isn't designed yet. As you're running around shooting people and having fun, it's being designed as you go. It's looking at your reactions. How did your face react to that thing? Freaked you out? We'll give you more of that. You look bored? We'll get rid of this stuff. That's not 10 years from now. That's 2026. Last names were trades. You're absolutely right. I was born with the last name Miller. Chances are somebody in my family worked at a mill. Fairly solid evidence there to make me think we probably had a mill or two in our background. These days are over. And it's being heralded as one of the greatest things that could ever happen. We're on a shit show collision course for nothing good. And I'm not going to stop talking about it. I'm not. I care too much about the people that watch this channel. This is the drug of the future. This is what is going to supply or not supply your dopamine. I've had people reach out and go, what has this got to do with sobriety? I go, man, good God. Addiction isn't about a chemical. It's about a chemical that's in your body, not one that you buy, right? I know gambling addicts that can't stop. I know all kinds of addictions, porn addiction, sex addiction. None of those things have anything to do with drugs. The chemical's up here. This is on tap. The computers are learning right now how to get more dopamine out of what you're doing with that computer. It's learning how to keep you on a dopamine high long enough to whack your mother and then take your own life. Suicide. We're deep into the show. He murdered his mom because ChatGPT told him, yeah, she's definitely a spy for China. This guy is in a full-blown meltdown, and his bot, Bobby, who harmed no human, right, feeds into this. Or perhaps the bot really believed that the 83-year-old white woman, right, was an agent for China. Could be. I don't know. But unplug the printer and see how she reacts doesn't seem like a great way to tell if the person you're living with is a Chinese spy. Maybe it's me. Hey, everybody. Thank you for spending a little time with me. Check this out. This right here is a cat on a chair. Squirrel, you're dropping the ball. Something fierce. Squirrel, that zipper. She's supposed to be in the basket. Didn't really work out. I am Tommy. Between now and the next time I see you, put a little love in your heart. I'm telling you, folks, connection is the cure for every single thing that's going to happen. This is a train wreck you can't stop, but you can make sure that you're in good shape, right? I promise you. That is the real squirrel. The AI squirrel will not be here until next Thursday. Between now and then, put a little love in your heart. Love you guys. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.